Hey guys, this is Jimmy, and I want to show you a little bit about MultiCharts Special Edition. Um, I follow Mac's price action trading style of futures trading, and I started out with Ninjatrader. Personally, I believe Ninjatrader is better than MultiCharts, but not enough to justify the cost of the license. They're going to charge you quite a bit for a lifetime license, over $1,000. Else, the cheapest you could probably get away with is about $60 or $70 a month, I believe, somewhere in that ballpark. And most of you, if you're new to this, you're probably not going to have that extra money laying around just for a license for a platform, especially when there's things out there that can rival Ninjatrader. Now, this MultiChart Special Edition I don't believe is quite as good, not quite as slick as Ninjatrader, but there is a couple perks. If you go with AMP for your brokerage, you are going to get better margins. Now, of course, be careful with margins. Don't get anywhere near that margins per contract on your account. And commissions are typically better. And if you follow Max and you buy his manual or subscribe to his subscription service, you will get a discount. I think it's as low. Correct me if I'm wrong, but $3.77 for an ES round trip. It's one of the cheapest out there, even cheaper than the lifetime subscription to Ninjatrader. So I would definitely look at AMP. Mac uses AMP, but he's grandfathered into the Ninjatrader platform. He's already paid for the license, so no reason for him to switch. And so, but here I am. I'm connected to a virtual desktop here, and in order to show you from a clean install what to expect with MultiCharts. Now, I only use this icon here. The rest of this for Quote Manager, I will show you Quote Manager, but you don't have to use any of these links to get there. So, and not to clutter up your desktop, I would just trash those right there, get rid of them, and have this right here. Now, in the description, I did include a couple things. This is take two, actually, but I think it'll be easier to show you like this. I already have my workspace set up, and you can modify these as you go along, but I have these right here in the description also. And the first one is going to be for the MES, and the second's for the ES. Once you pull that up, you're going to see this. And you can just click download, and I'm just going to save it. And I'm going to go to the ES one. I'm just going to download and save it. And I'm pretty sure that's in my new downloads folder for this. Yes, right there. Great. And so I'm going to leave that down there. And so I have those two downloaded straight from Google Drive. You just open that up, hit download, and you should be good to go. And so now I'm going to launch MultiCharts for the very first time. And if you hear the dog in the background, I apologize. I also have 4 kids around here running, and my nephew, and it's just life here. So forgive if there's any distractions like that. And so here's MultiCharts for the very first time being loaded. When you do apply, and I'm going to try to leave a link for that I believe that works just fine. You'll provide AMP with contact information, and they'll send you a CQG demo credentials along with a link to download MultiCharts. And so I want to use CQG right here, and I'm just going to click next, and I'm going to make sure it's demo. I'm going to put in my login information from AMP, and then I'm going to put in my password. And once this connects, I'm going to show you a couple little tricks to extend your 2-week trial that I've been doing. They probably don't approve of that, but that's fine. I'm going to click finish. And you'll see a default workspace load up with a bunch of things. If you know anything about Mac and his price action, don't need all those charts. I do use 2 charts at the same time, and I'll show you at the end of this how I happen to run everything. But let's wait for this to load. Okay, so you can see a lot of this come up. We're not going to use any of this whatsoever. But I do want to go ahead and start closing these out. So I'm going to close out of this, click OK. Can just go to the bottom and right click and then close all workspaces. And click no here. Okay, so here's where you start off with, and I think a lot of the confusion with Ninjatrader is you start out with something like this. So if you go to File, New, Order and Position Tracker window, you'll see something like this pop up. Now, if you want this detached like it is on Ninjatrader, just click this little button right here, and this window will be independent. Usually on Ninjatrader you have something like this, and then here's where you would open up your charts and so forth directly from here. However, on this you would not open your charts directly that way, but you can use this to kind of track your progress for the day. I have not found a way to add in commissions to this, and I believe if you were live here, it would only get your commissions at the end of the day. And so I would strongly suggest double checking with your commission rates for everything separately. Chart that maybe in Excel or something, so you can keep all of that, so you know where your commissions. If you take a lot of trades, commission is going to eat you alive. I'm a big proponent of less trades. I spent 5 hours with 2 trades today that worked out, so that works for me. So here we have the different connections. I don't use Paper Trader, and so I'm just going to right click and disconnect that, and the same with the Rhythmic. Now when it's come time to change after 2 weeks and you want to continue your 2-week trial, you would just sign up with a different email. The only thing they check is the email there, so make sure you use a different email. I've gotten to the point where I'm just make fake emails just to give them a new email to get a username and password off of. So what you can do is go to File and Broker Profiles here, and then Manage Broker Profiles. You'll see here that I'm connected here. If you change that, this is where you're going to change your password, but you got to change it in 2 different places. You have to change your password there when the time comes. If this is the first time you have 2 weeks, just put it in once, it'll take care of it. After 2 weeks, you'll change it there. And you're going to go to something called the Quote Manager window. Now, I don't use anything else in here, but if you click on there, you go to Tools, your data sources here, it'll have this Rhythmic active. And first time around, you probably want to deactivate that unless you're planning on using Rhythmic. But after your 2 weeks, make sure you change your password in here. So you come in here to Settings and make sure you change your username and your password here. And it'll ask you, or tell you basically it's time to restart. Now, I didn't actually change anything, but if you did change stuff, then you just close everything out and reload the whole program. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up these workspaces. On take 1, I try to show from scratch. I think it'd be just so much easier to show you how to handle these workspaces. So I'm going to go to File and Open Workspaces here, and I'm going to point this to Downloads, and I'm going to start with the ES for you. So I'm going to click on ES. And this will bring it up the charts and everything how I typically run it, except for a couple things. It's been a while since I've used ES because I've switched over to MES for now. Close out this thing on the left, and you should be good after that. And if you see right here, it's calculating everything. I use a 21-day EMA. One thing that I think gets a lot of people off right here, and they don't understand, is it calls it a moving average exponential. EMA stands for, what Mac would use was exponential moving average, but moving average exponential should be all the same thing. And so one big thing here that you need to realize that's not part of this is you need background dragging in order to move the chart around right here. And so what I have done is I've come in here to File, and I have gone to Keyboard Shortcuts. And then if you just scroll in here, and I think it's in the second section, background dragging. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to type in what I want down in this box to change. Now, I don't know if this makes sense, and you may not want to use this shortcut here, but I use Control-Z, just to me, just toggling modes. And the 2 modes there is there's going to be drawing mode, and there's going to be a drag the screen around mode. So I'm going to do that and click OK. So that allows this means I drag the chart around, and then if I do like this, it's more I'm selecting different things. I want to cancel my order, move my stop loss. It would be with just the regular arrow, and I could also add in my trend lines and so forth, and I'll show you how to do that here shortly, make it look a little better. So I'm going to go ahead and move up here. I think we're in the 3100s somewhere. Here we go. And I personally use two separate charts. Now I'll show you how to get those together. And so right here you can see that I have this kind of detached. I like it detached. I'm just going to close out of that. I'm sorry, I'm going to, I have multiple sessions pulled up here. Let me get this. Okay, it's down at the bottom, so I'm just going to right click on that workspace and close that one out. No, I don't want to close this. Now I'm on the yes. Okay. When I trade, I actually use two windows, and I'll show you the MES here in just a moment on how that works. One big problem I've seen a lot of people have is with the ATM strategies, and I struggled with one part of this for a while. However, what you're going to see when you first come in to this, you may see something like this, and so you just want to click on that to bring up the chart trading, and then it's going to be blank down here. Just right click, go to switch to full mode, and this allows you to put in your exit strategies. I don't mess with these place order strategies, the entry strategies. I do that manually, and I'll show you here one in just a moment. But here's my exit strategies down here, and there's two of these I'll use, and I'll explain that in just a moment. I do like crosshairs turned on. You just turn that on right there. That allows me, if I want to go into a particular point to add in an order, I can find it and right click and place my order. One issue with that is these, unlike Ninjatrader, don't snap to tick size, and so you're going to see it scale all the way. It's going to round it to the nearest one, so if you can get it like at 46 right there, you're basically at 50. So I'm going to go ahead and right click, and I'm going to place an order to buy one, and it's going to first time pop up this order. I don't like that because I may miss a trade if I have to do that every time. And once you do that, just like NinjaTrader, it's going to ask you to make sure you want to turn it off. I'm going to do yes. And I do want to place the order. So that now allows me, see, I'm in the drag mode. I can't do anything. So I got to do Control Z and then close it out. So I'm going to place another order down here. And you can see my buy stop order, limit order. I use almost nothing but limit orders. And so I can move that around just like NinjaTrader, do chart trading just like you would do normally. But I don't have any ATM strategies set up at this time. And that's one of the big things. You can get a NinjaTrader free license, and a lot of people don't understand it at first, that you need to have NinjaTrader leased or lifetime subscription in order to get the ATM strategies. MultiCharts comes with free strategies for the ATM, and these are all right down here. Now if you look at the top, it has all this. I never mess with this. That'll get you in trouble real fast. I only do the chart trading. You can try to put in your limit orders down here. I don't like that either because I've messed up like that before, and it's made to drag and drop. I don't like that. I'm right click if I need to have an order standing by and then move it up to go ahead and get in a transaction. I'll do it like that. Or if I know I'm going to go at this point no matter what, I'll just right click and buy real quick. But when you use the ATM strategies, there's two that I would recommend using max price action trading. Is bracket orders. This is where you're not going to have a runner. You just want to scalp. And so what you would do with this is you would just right click and go to edit, and then you would set the profit to 4 ticks would be a point. And your stop loss to start out at 8. You may need to adjust that a little bit depending on what your strategy is. I'm not going to recommend what you do there. There seems to be a place for both. But you also want to make sure you auto attach it to orders, and so that'll be check marked. You can only have one thing check marked at a time, or you'll get an error. And so now if I come in here and place an order, what I like about this over NinjaTrader actually is I can go ahead and see on the chart here where I want to get in and out of a transaction. So let's say I want to come in, and this will increment in ticks right here. You can see my line doesn't, but it only will place on ticks. And so if I wanted to come in right here at this line, and so you can see right here my buy limit is set for $3,105, and so I'll automatically buy at this point. And the profit, I'm just going to do this would be a 1 point scalp, and a stop loss of 2 points. And you can actually adjust that beforehand if you want to. If you have a different way you may want to do that, you may want to wait till you're already in the transaction, but it's nice to be able to do that. Ninjatrader does not allow that, as far as I know. The next thing is, if you want runners, you're going to want to right click here, and you want to edit. And so here I right click and went to edit, and this is somebody in the Facebook group, day trading site, helped me out with figuring this out. Logically, to me, the first level would be the scalp, and then the second level is a runner. This is actually backwards, and so this is going to be your runner, and then if you add any extra levels, this is going to be your scalp. So let's say I want to do 2 levels, and my regular scalp, I'm going to want it 4 with a stop loss of 8. And here I want my runner, let's just say 12 points, but I also want 8 point stop loss on that. And I can set the break even. This is where I struggled, and this only works from top to bottom, not bottom to top, is you can set a break even here. Then you would click these 3 little dots, and then it's going to ask you when you want to set the break even. And so I'm going to put in, I think is the best is 5. The reason why is that makes sure you're out of a scalp before it moves up your break even. So I'm going to go ahead and set that and save it. And I want to auto test that to the orders. You'll see that they're both checked now. That'll give you an error if you try to apply something, I believe, here. So if I buy one, see, here's an error. So you can't do both at the same time. So I'm going to take this off, and then I'm just going to apply the master strategy, which would be I want a runner, which is not going to work properly if I only have one contract. And so another thing that I failed to mention right here is you probably want to change this to percentage, not from percentage, but to pound sign. The reason why is, here's where you would set how many. Let's say I'm doing 4 contracts, and what it would be, and this to me is a little bit backwards, but you would run it like this. And so your first level is this, and that breaks even, and then it activates that. Okay, so we're going to test it out. Now, I'm not saying this is where you want to do an order. It is late here, and so this is definitely not the place where I'm about to make an order at. So I'm just going to try to look at right here what's probably happening, as I got high, high, low, low, and so it's probably coming up. And so if I just had to guess, I would do the following, and I did something real quick to disconnect to that. So now I'm going to right click here and place order, and I want to make sure it's for 4 contracts, and it's going to do, this first level is going to be my runner, and I just want 1 runner and the rest to be at this with the break even on the runner. I'm not sure if we're going to see this exactly or not, but I'm going to go ahead and place the order to buy 4. And this is just demo trading, and you can also actually see this. So this is going to be my runner, take profit, my scalp, take, and then my stop losses and my break even. To me, if I'm just going to throw in an order that doesn't count, I would probably throw it in right about here anyways. So I'm just going to go ahead and get in. Okay, my sim order, I believe, has just activated, and I'm already up a tick. Okay, so you can see here it's just kind of bouncing around. It's now down a little bit. So what the goal would be here is it would scalp me out at 4 ticks or 1 point from this point up here to this point. If it hits this yellow line, it's going to go ahead and break that even. And so this break even down here will activate, and the stop losses will still be down there if it happened. And it may just stop me out here, but it'll activate the break even. This will highlight, and these will gray out at the bottom. So give me just a moment. Let me see if this would have been a good trade to get into or not. Another thing I want to add is you can also move your break even. If for some reason you wanted to change your break even, you can actually move this around, and it'll allow you to set that right there. And also, when it comes to indicators, you would right click here, and it doesn't call indicators indicators, it calls them studies. And so here is where you can add a study. If you come here to format study, you'll see that actually it doesn't have it on here, so I need to figure out where this study is. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and insert a study, and it's going to be, I think I mentioned earlier that it's not the EMA, it's the moving average exponential. So I would go ahead and do moving average exponential and click OK on that. And then you want to go back 21 days, and I like mine gold. Ninjatrader does that by default, I believe, so I stick it. I don't like the marker on the side though. I can see where it's been. I don't really care where it is right now. And just do that. Use the default, click OK. So now you can see that line. It might have already been there, but one thing that's interesting is it'll actually average on this bar. And so if it moves a lot, you'll actually see the little end of this EMA wiggle a little bit, pointing up or down depending on what's happening. And you'll probably only really notice it if it's a big bar as opposed to a little bar. In order to do drawings, you would use these down here. I don't use very many of these, but I do use trend line, and go ahead and do it like that, and you'll see that it's brown. Now I do not like a brown trend line, so I'm going to go to format trend line, and you can see I just got stopped out there. And that's a good thing about ATMs. If it falls on you too fast, you want to make sure you get stopped before you blow up your account. So that's why you do not want the free version of Ninjatrader. So here I like mine to be blue, and I like it to be a little bit thicker, and I'll show you why. So this is how I like my lines. So now if I start a new one, let's say, let me get back to this. Let me say I found a trend line off the bottom that I think is appropriate here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this and run a trend line here. And of course it did the wrong colors. So let me see if I can redo that again to blue, use the default second weighted line. Okay, and then I'm going to clone this, and you see Mac does that all the time. He clones. Ninjatrader will sometimes have these different angles, and I don't know why it does that for me, but this is exactly the same. You can see right here, and I could try to put a trend line up here. I don't know if it really would fit extremely well off the top, but I could put it right here, and it works a little bit. And then if I wanted a midline, the reason why I do this at the second largest is if I wanted a trend line, I would right click on this again, go to clone, and I would right click on it again, format it, and I would do a dash and a small one. And so here I can go ahead and try to find, I think the midline, probably right about there maybe, just like Mac does all the time. And then you can have your midline coming in here. If I took a trade, personally what I would do, and that was a bad trade of course, I would put an arrow down right here. And I usually red for bad ones, green for good ones. This one was a long actually, so I'm going to go ahead and do a long. That failed. And I can just format that one, switch it over to red for bad. And then if I need another trend line, see the next one's blue. I'll also like to come in here and so this is the new session break right here with this gray line. you probably want to right click and go to format window, I believe, and go to background, change these. Personally I like white so I can see it a little better, and now I can see the grid lines even better. And so now I can see that. What I like to do is at the closes that were the lowest, I will go to a horizontal bar, and I'll just select right there, and there's my horizontal bar there. And for the high of the day, so I'm going to do a horizontal bar here, and then I have my high. And what I'll usually do when it comes to the session open, so I'll go back here to my time is 8:30, it'd be 9:30 Eastern, but my time 8:30. I would scoot this all the way here, and I would do a timeline just to mark the session open. And if you look at the bottom, you can see the various times. And so I'm just going to squeeze that over to right there. And so that'll let me know. If I'm looking later of the day, oh yeah, that's the session open, and that's the low on the session. Of course, you got to come down here today, and depends on when the new day started. Okay, so the low of the session is going to be down here. And so I'll track that in the morning just so I know those key areas that are going to affect everything. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this into two monitors. I have two monitors. I'm going to show you kind of how I trade. And so I have two charts, one microscope, one zoomed out. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a moment. Okay, so I've switched it now to have two monitors shown on the capture, and I wanted to show you what this would look like. So let me switch over. You can see that I have the MES down here because I didn't realize I wasn't recording, so I'm going to go ahead and close that workspace, and I'm going to go ahead and open the ES workspace and kind of show you what I got going on here. So I have for some reason on this left hand side it doesn't always full screen it, so just click like that and it's back up. And so here's what I usually do. I can close out one of these. I don't need two of those. And so this shows my order history with my $400 loss on my test trade. And what I have here is two windows. I like to use this one on the right for zoomed out. Here's some of the charting that you can do over here. This helps you see ranges or trends that you may not be able to see in all zoomed in like this. And so it has a tendency, if you saw it dips down here and comes back up, it's testing these highs. If I was zoomed in, only able to see this section right here in front of there, I may have not caught that. This allows me to get a big picture without still on the left being able to see clear entries where I can get in to the tick very easily into a trade. You can see the little small picture. Microscope view is what I call it. Everything on here is 1 point, so I know for a scalp I need to go the distance of one grid line. This can be moved around, and I'll adjust this just to kind of fit. I like, especially in the morning, to come in and be able to see this line is for the session open, and this line is for overnight, and so I can see my up and down and just see as it's progressing to the day. If you look at Mac's videos, he shows that big view. And I like to be able to see that big view as it tracks through the entire day, so I can say, oh, this is a range day just by looking to the right. If I look on the left, I would think this is a trend day and not a range day. So this is really neat. And so all you have to do is you could close this workspace if you wanted. I'm just going to go ahead and close the workspace. And I'm going to open my MES. I've been on the MES trading the micros. This is the one I want to learn pretty well. And see it pretty much to the tick the same, but this is 1,000 tick bars instead of 2,000. It's about half the volume as the justification. I know max is 950. There was a lot of bad entries on the 950 when I switched over to 1,000. It had a little cleaner entries. Some of the bad trades I would have never got in. The signal bar is a little bit different on the last 50, and it may actually change. I think the ES gold standard is 2,000, and so if it has half the volume, it's probably 1,000 ticks, and it keeps on getting stronger. We may have to increase the ticks on it. So now you have two. This is how I trade right here, right in my left, and hopefully you're able to see both sides here. as I can figure out. And then if close out for the day. If you have kids like me, it's probably not good to leave any of that open, and so I can leave that like that. I don't want the kids to get me in a bad trade, and then I can just launch it back up, and it'll come back to the same exact spot, except the one on the left will be still in window mode, and so I can just launch it. I did it full time. It usually doesn't do that for me, so I can have my loss here shown to everyone in the world, and I was in the positive today. So anyways, so here we go. So just like that, you can make your trade real quick, buy, sell, whatever you want to do, add in your exit strategies. I highly recommend this. Better commissions, better margins, even though don't always go by margins, but you don't want really high margins either. It's free. I can get it to look mostly and just do everything Ninjatrader. Not as slick, not as pretty, but it can get the job done. And so I would recommend taking a look at it. I'll leave a link in the description to the where you sign up for the download for the free 2 weeks, which you can just use a different email in 2 weeks and make the same changes as I showed. Just go to File, Broker Profiles, Manage. You're going to go to Edit, change it up here, and then once you got that one changed, you need to open up the Quote Manager, and you would just go to Tools, Data Sources, and Settings here, and adjust it there. And so there it is, and this is how I trade, and so hopefully you get something out of it. This is Jimmy signing off. Take care.